That's what you always say. All right. Okay, everybody, happy Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have such a great turnout. Thank you for taking time out of your day. So today is going to be really informal. We are basically going to share our journeys with you guys of how we went from amateurs basically to pros. We all have between the three of us, like our journeys are all very, very different. And so we thought it would be special to share it with you guys, just so you understand, like, it's different for everybody. And, you know, we really want everybody to give themselves grace. And, you know, I think it's what we've discussed is it's really important to understand your why and understand that your journey is your own. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to be first. I'm going to share my screen with you. I'll be sharing my screen the whole time with you guys, and then we're going to each be talking through everything. So I'm going to go first, and then Coach Corinne, and then Coach Ann. And then after that, we'll just open it up for like an informal, you know, Q&A session. And then that's it. So let me share my screen. All right, can everybody see?
Oh, but that's me, not you.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Can we see? I want to make it like the full screen, but I don't know how to do that. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Journey to Pro, Natasha. Oh, I didn't put Ann in there. It's supposed to say Ann. And I put Carrie, which that's wrong too. So excuse that.
You know what? I'm so used to it. It's fine. But my name is not Carrie.
I know. I should have put Carrie Ann. Okay. Sorry, guys. That's
you should have. Yeah, that would have been better.
All right.
It's fine.
So here's my journey. So I'm Natasha. I actually started competing in 2019. I joined with Jamie. And actually a year before that is when I made the decision to start competing. So it was in 2017 that I made that decision. And then I was in a really bad car accident, hit in a head-on collision. And so it took me a couple of years of rehab to get kind of back to where I was. And so enter 2019, I did my first show. I was actually living overseas. My ex-husband is in the Air Force, so we were at Lake and Heath. And with Fit Body Fusion, as you guys all know, we always do our warm-up show as our first show, right? So Jamie had told me, oh, just go ahead and pick a show close to you. So I was like, great. Got the show in Spain, super easy to get to, super cheap to fly into. Yeah, I showed up and it was an Olympia amateur. So it was a very, very big show. Nobody spoke English. I did not speak Spanish. And I got on stage and I basically placed last in every single thing. I didn't even place in some of the classes that I did. I was mortified. I was like, what am I doing? Jamie was like coaching me, you know, on like through text messaging and stuff, but with the time difference and obviously prep brain, I totally like missed the boat on everything. Like I did everything wrong. So I really questioned myself. I didn't, you know, I wasn't sure if it was something I wanted to do. And then, you know, just Jamie being amazing. She's like, why don't we give it another go in the States? So we were due to come back anyway to the States. And so I came back and I did my first show in the States a month later in at Golden State up in Sacramento. So I did that show and won. I took first place in Masters 40, and then I think second in 35. And then literally a week later, I did North Americans, and that's where I won my pro card. So I literally went from June, August to September. And then I did my pro debut in Florida at Hurricane Pro, and I came in third. And then I took a break. And as you guys all know, COVID happened. I was supposed to get on stage actually early 2020 to like officially kind of get into my pro season, but COVID happened. And then I actually ended up getting COVID, and I literally came out of isolation, I think a week before the show in November at the Atlantic Coast. So I was fresh with COVID in my system, and I placed second in that show. And then I took all of last year off. Last year was when I became a full-time coach with Fit Body Fusion, and I wanted to dedicate more of my time to coaching. And so here we are this year, and my first show this year was Bermuda. And kind of the way I've been approaching it is I want to compete in places and travel because I love to travel. So we've picked places that I would like, that I want to go to and just get a different experience. And also getting in front of different judges, just because it's been so quick, fast and furious for me. Like I am still learning so much as I go along the way. Because in terms of an athlete and as a competitor, I'm really young and still learning. And then my last show was a few weeks ago in Puerto Rico. And to be really honest with you guys, I've been going back and forth of, do I want to compete still? Like, how does it fit into my life? And Puerto Rico was probably very similar to my first show in terms of a lot of growth, where I really had to step back and decide what I wanted to do, redefine my why. And it was very humbling. So at Puerto Rico, I placed 5th. I didn't bring the package that I wanted to, but that's fully on me, kind of like just different choices and decisions I made during my prep. And then I had started my period like 20 or 48 hours prior to that. And we have learned that it's like literally somebody just dumps water in my butt, in my hip area. So I looked great from the front, but the minute I turned around and had to move, like everything was jiggling. So that was like a huge lesson learned. But yeah, so I am going to continue to compete this season just because I'm super excited to bring a new package. As you can see in my pictures, like my presentation has evolved quite a bit. Like I started wearing my wigs because I had really short hair at the time. And now here we are. Now I've got my natural hair. We've changed my suit color. Physique looks a lot different. I completely changed my posing working with Jazzy. So just super excited. And honestly, it's just the opportunity to continue to grow. The thing about me is because when I started competing, I honestly had no idea where it was going to go. I didn't even know like that you could get a pro card. I didn't know where it was going to go. I always step on stage and I have never compared myself to anybody. I think Puerto Rico was probably the first time that I did because I realized I was carrying so much water. But other than that, I've never compared myself to anybody. It's always, when I step on that stage, it's what I am presenting, the work that I have put in to get there. And not every prep is the same. I've had preps that I'm like 100%, and I've had preps that I'm not 100%. And, just being able to hold myself accountable and grow through that experience it's just been life-changing. So that's me. I'm going to roll it over to Corinne.
And Natasha, we just had one quick question. Let's answer that one really quick, because I think it'll help people through this. And somebody asked, like, how do you even get to getting a pro card? Is it a point system? In the amateur world, guys, it's not. So you have to do a regional show that's a qualifier. You need to place top 2 in your class to qualify for a national show. Then you have to go to nationals, and you have to win your class at nationals to get the pro card. So that's how it works. There isn't really there's not a point system. It's not like Olympia in the amateur world. So yeah, hopefully that answered the question that somebody had, is what's the path? So it's regional show that's a qualifier, qualify for nationals, go to nationals and win. Good question. Yes, you have to qualify in an open class. You can't qualify. It doesn't qualify if you win a novice class. So you either have to qualify in open, or for us masters ladies, you have to place first or second in a master's class, in your open masters, to qualify for nationals.
However, Coach Ann, this year and last year, because of COVID, for masters, the qualification for the national stage is any show, right?
Oh, Sandy yesterday at the show didn't mention that for masters. She said the rules were back to how they were before COVID.
Okay, so they're going back.
May I? Because I'm going to nationals 2 weeks from now to Pittsburgh. They told me just being in the show within last 12 months qualifying event. So that's why I'm going.
I think
although I placed 3rd, but they didn't even ask that.
Yeah, I think for masters, you just have to step on stage.
Yeah.
You don't have to place anything.
Oh.
You just have to step on stage.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that may change. Because
It may,
Anne,
yeah.
I think like when I competed, you had to place. Like you had it had to be first or second in order for me to move on to North American. So
Same for me.
I suspect that like now with COVID kind of, over, I think they're gonna probably go back, I don't know, to their old standards. So
Yeah.
All right. Coach Corinne, are you ready?
Bring it on. I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just kind of start in the beginning. So the reason I actually started competing was a little different than probably a lot of people. But you can tell by my pictures, this was a long time ago, just in my posing. So back in 2008, I had been recovering. Well, I had an eating disorder starting in 2000. So for 8 years, I had been suffering pretty severely from an eating disorder. And I decided then that for me, I just needed to get healthy and I needed to figure that out because I wanted to be around for my kids. And I didn't want to be skinny fat. So it wasn't just a matter of like eating and, putting on some weight, but I really admired like the physiques of bodybuilders and even like just people at the gym in general. So I met a lady who was an IFBB figure pro. And I asked her to train me. And it was the first year bikini had come out. So this was at the end of 2008. And she said, let's train you for a bikini show. It's a new division. It just came out. And I refused. I said, nope, I want to do figure. I want to put on muscle. I want to actually build, I want to grow. I want to learn how to eat correctly and fuel my body. So we started prepping for figure. And I was probably about 103 pounds when I started. I was really small. I'm 5'4", so I was tiny. And in 2009, I stepped on my first figure stage. For me, it was a bucket list. I was going to do one show. That was it. Just learn how to eat, learn how to train correctly to build muscle. And I took 5th place. So that was really exciting to me. I kind of got a little hooked and figured, I want to keep going and see what I can do. I think I'd gained like 7 pounds for that first show. And I started learning a lot about myself. I was in a toxic marriage at that time, and this kind of gave me something that I could control and focus on. And I really learned to love myself through this process. So from 2009 to 2010, I was competing. I had won an overall in figure, and then I decided I'm going to go to nationals because during that time I'd put on probably 20 pounds total. So I went and competed at USA's. That's the first picture. I'm like trying to point, but you can't see where I'm pointing. The first picture in the black bikini. And I remember going in thinking, holy cow, I'm huge. I'm so big. I feel so great. And then getting there and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm tiny. Like these girls are massive. And it was kind of like, it was kind of just devastating to me because I realized I was never going to get that big. It just wasn't possible for me. And so I felt defeated, and I decided to step back from competing for a while. So I took a year off, and then I decided I really missed it. So I switched to bikini. So I did. I competed from 2011 to 2014, only doing regional shows. I didn't have I think I was probably traumatized from nationals, to be honest. I didn't really have any goal to go to pro. I wasn't I wasn't chasing a pro card. I wasn't thinking about going pro. And I was self-coaching from this point on. So I was coaching myself on stage. I had been doing really well. I'd won, some shows. I'd won a couple overalls. I won overall in bikini. And then I actually decided finally in 2014, I was just gonna hit all the national shows and just see how it went. I'm doing this, I'm loving this. So I did, I think I did every national show that year in 2014, except for I didn't do Universe. I turned 35 in August, so I think I missed that at that show. I didn't do Universe or Masters because I wasn't old enough. So I ended up last call outs. And every show until North Americans, and I got second place in Masters, second place in Open. And then I did Miami, so I did Nationals, and I got last call-outs again. So I kind of felt like, oh my gosh, this is just never going to happen. I was so close, you know, second runner-up. And then I hired a coach, and I finally won my pro card in 2015 at Junior Nationals. So it was a very long journey for me, but I grew so much as an athlete. You know, all the stage presence I had. So those last pictures on the far right on the top is when I turned pro. The look is very different than it is now. And I always say, like, I should not have won that show. I don't feel like I was the best physique on stage. There was 48 girls in my class. You know, it was an open class, and I think is my stage presence. So, you know, just make sure you're practicing your posing, because stage presence can win very easily over like a better physique. But looking back, I don't know how I won that show. But then, you know, going forward, I did my pro debut 2 months later. So I won in June. I did my pro debut in August, and that's the bottom left picture on the first one on the left. And that was 2015 as well. And then, you know, I've been competing nonstop since. So I think I've done 44 pro shows since then. I really just fell in love with the sport so much. And, you know, what I've gained from it has, you know, not only lifelong friends, but just a real true love for myself. 2018, I decided that year I'm going to go to Olympia this year. And I remember saying it like early in the year, this is my year. And I competed, you know, I was placing really well. I was placing top 5, and it was the first year they did the point system only. So we had to earn points to go to Olympia. So we were all chasing points that year. I had to do 13 shows to qualify. So just in 2018, I did 13 shows to qualify, and I made it to Olympia. And it was the most incredible feeling. And, you know, I always say, if I put my mind to do something, I'm going to do it. I did it when I started competing. I put on the weight. I did it when I wanted to go to Olympia, and I did it when I decided to move on from my toxic marriage. So if I'm really willing to do something, I'm going to make it happen. And then, you know, now I'm still going. I'm not fighting for Olympia points. I'm not trying to get to Olympia. Now it's all about just making sure that I'm taking care of myself, and it's all about health for me now. So that's kind of where it ends. Now I'm still competing. I have a couple of shows planned in August, but I joined Fit Body Fusion in September. And so I'm fairly new to the team, but I'm really happy to be here, and I've made some amazing friends being here. And that's kind of where my journey ends at this point so far. So
Okay.
Now it's Anne's turn.
Now me. Oh my goodness. Okay, so mine actually started in 2016 at the tender age of 44, 45. And I think I was 45 that year. And I kind of did it, same thing. It was totally a bucket list thing. I had always, you know, been in shape. Actually, to back up way back in 90 and 91, I competed when I was in college. My freshman year of college, I did 2 shows that year, and that was before there was no bikini, there was no wellness. It was just bodybuilding, and you either competed as a light, middle, or heavyweight. I couldn't find any of those pictures. They're buried somewhere, but really funny. You don't wear makeup. There's no jewelry, no shoes. You just walk out there barefoot in a suit. It was hilarious. But anyway, fast forward, I decided my college education was probably a better plan at that moment. So I finished school, and then life happened. I got married and had kids and whatnot. So at 45, I just thought, you know, I just want to do a show. I just want to do one more just for fun, to say I can do it. And so I competed at the Nevada State in 2016, won my novice class, won both of my master's classes, won the master's overall. I was on cloud 9, and I was hooked. That was it. I was like, I had so much fun. Crazy, that same night, my now husband proposed to me after that show. So then I planned a wedding and got married 3 months later, and the whole year was kind of a chaotic whirlwind. So 2017, I got an itch and thought, okay, I'm not done. I really want to do this again. I just couldn't stop thinking about it, wanted to compete again. So I did Governor's Cup in Sacramento, placed 4th in the Open, and won my master's class. And then I competed again at the very end of that year at a muscle contest show in San Diego. Wasn't my best showing. And then in 2018, I did the Golden State in Sacramento. That was my first show with Jamie. So at the end of 2017, I hired Jamie at Fit Body Fusion, and then things really kind of took off when I kind of had a strategy. I'd been working with a small local coach who I adore, and who was a great coach, but she kind of had her own dreams. She's a rodeo girl, and so there wasn't a lot of strategy to it. So hiring Jamie and having a coach who had like let's have a strategy and let's map out your shows and kind of what your season looked like was kind of a game changer for me. So competed at Golden State in 2018, won both my master's show, took second in the open. Of course, when that happens, you're like, oh, I got this, I'm ready to go. And so we decided to do nationals that year. Went to my first nationals show, and I've never been more, it's like kind of starstruck and horrified all at the same time. I walked in there and I just felt completely like a fish out of water. I looked around, everybody looked perfect. I was like thinking I didn't belong there. I wasn't ready, and I wasn't ready. So yeah, went in there and kind of got my ass handed to me. So that was good. It was good for me. It was the first time I hadn't just been winning at local shows and realized that there's much bigger competition out there than my small town shows. And so it lit a fire under me. And I feel like everyone has that experience where you go to a show and you feel like you're doing really well and I've totally got this. And then you place last or you end up in last call outs. And I think it does one of two things. You either say, forget it, this isn't for me, I'm hanging up my bikini, or it makes you dig in and go, okay, I'm going to figure this out. We're going back to the drawing board. So for me, I was like going back to the drawing board. I want to come back to nationals and I want to do better. So again, met with Jamie, we regrouped 2019, did Sacramento championships. And then COVID kind of hit after that, obviously. And so things kind of got shut down. Went back in, oh, someone's jumping in late here. So get past COVID 2021, we decided to go for it again, which was just last year. Did the NorCal show as a warm up, and then went to Universe. Took second in my master's class by a point. That was painful. So got judges' feedback, lost by a point. That I was just going to do that one national show, and Jamie's like, you're this close, you got to keep going. So then we went to Masters Nationals about 3 or 4 weeks later, got second again. So I was going to hang it up, and my husband was like, no, we've come this far, you're going one more. So we went back to North Americans, and I finally got my pro card at North Americans last year. And then very quickly after that, quit my career of 20 years and went to work full-time for Fit Body Coaching. So it's been quite the whirlwind. And then this year I did my pro debut, went to Bermuda with Tosh, and I did well because it was a really small show. I will just preface it with that. I wasn't ready. My head was not in the right place. And it was kind of a humbling experience. And I think we all have those as well. I won't even look at the pictures from that show because I'm so disgusted with him, but it did the same thing for me. It really kind of made me regroup and think like, what is my why? Why am I doing this? And I think a big part of it for me was, as you're an amateur, you get so tunnel visioned. Like, I want my pro card. I want my pro card. You have this goal and this path you're on, and you map out what you want to do to get that pro card. Well, as masters, we get our pro card, and then it's like, well, now what are we working towards? I think for a lot of the younger girls, you get your pro card, and then you instantly start that same path of like, I want to get to Olympia. I want to get points, and that's the next step. So, I wasn't sure what my progression was, but at the end of the day, I love this sport. I love competing. I love pushing myself and challenging myself and trying to be better at any age. So got my head on straight, and I'm going to do the Legion here in Reno in October. So that's kind of been my journey. questions?
All right, I'm going to stop sharing this.
Okay.
All right.
Should we just do like a hand raise if anyone has a question?
Yeah.
Questions, comments? Oh, Christine has a question. You're up,
Yeah.
Christine.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay. So I just did a show with Anne, which was amazing. But for my journey is pretty similar to Anne's journey. But I guess my question is on this journey, how did you handle the judges' feedback? Because I hear the common feedback that I normally get, and I haven't talked to Anne about this, but the one thing I'm having trouble with is one judge out of the couple that were there said I came in a little bit too lean, and I'm almost paranoid to put the weight on now. So I don't know, how do you handle that judge's feedback when it's one? None of the other judges said it. How do you, I mean, like I want to eat, but then you get afraid to say, well, that was just one judge's opinion.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I think
I mean,
the girls look lean. I think,
yeah.
I know
I'll
they
say
don't want to
this.
stride it.
I've been competing a long time, and something that I've had to really come to terms with is that feedback portion of competing, because I used to kind of go crazy trying to perfect every single thing every single judge told me. And every time I was just so unhappy because I would try to, look softer in certain areas or try to like look tighter in certain areas. And then, then the next feedback was the complete opposite. And I began hating, one, my body, and then two, just the chase of like, what does this judge want? Okay, what does that judge want? And I just learned that you have to compete for yourself, and you have to love the physique that you bring every single time you get on stage. Because if you're confident and you're happy with what you're bringing, then you're going to exude confidence, and the judges are going to love it. And if they don't, then some panel will, because every panel is different. And so you can't chase, like, it's great to get feedback, but you can't chase that certain look that this certain judge wants.
I think for my issue right now is that my training has not been the highest quality. So I really still don't know. I'm still learning actually what bikini is about. Like Anne laughs all the time. I thought you flexed. So here I am trying to be a 2x4, trying to bend like a bikini. And I'm like, physics don't work that way, guys. So I'm still trying to learn.
Go ahead.
I'm still trying to learn what bikini's about. And I think it's getting easier because we heard Sandy talk, and it is going back to the way it used to be. So that's making it a touch easier. But for me, it's hard to know what physique I want to bring because I still don't know what it is. I mean, I love the physique we brought this weekend, and I want to do well. This has been my goal for 6 years. But it's just, the feedback. Do you go with what the majority wants?
Well, I would say if your conditioning's good, and Anne she's going to direct you the way that you need to come in. But if your conditioning's good, if they're telling you that you're too lean, they're saying that you just need to be fuller. So that's just, carb loading a little bit more so that your muscle bellies are fuller on stage, and you don't look so hard. I have that same problem. I look a little too hard sometimes, and it's figuring out exactly what you need to be loading with so you don't look too hard on stage. And so that's something that you and Anne you'll have to figure out as you go. But
so it's more about being too hard, not. See, I'm thinking I got to put on 6 pounds.
Oh gosh, no, we're not doing that.
No, that would be crazy.
Okay, so it's more just what we did, that carb loading stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that's just, and that's part of the game too, is coming out of one show and then you looked so good. And then how do you keep everything on point for another 3 weeks, and everyone has that battle, like I look good right now. Our bodies, like, Tasha had a good point. You start your period and all of a sudden you're like, great, this is what I look like at this show. And you can't do anything about it. So it's just a matter, you kind of control the variables that you can control, and tweaking little things along the way. So our job, Christine, for the next 3 weeks is to just not let you get any leaner. So we can't keep you on the macros that were as low as they were, but I'm not going to let you blow up 6 pounds of promise. I promise.
Well, and Natasha, when you go into menopause, it fixes the problem.
Oh gosh. Well, I guess that's something to look forward to.
Oh, it's a blast. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Kimberly Courtney.
Yeah.
Where's Kimberly?
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I was unmuting and changing the video. I've done one local show here in Alaska. I think unlike everybody, I don't do bikini. I do figure. And I kind of love it. I watch the bikini girls in awe, and I think you're all so coordinated, right? And I'm so glad I just have to do quarter turns. I started in January with Erin as my coach, and I'm going to do another show here in Alaska in October. But sort of looking ahead, I was looking at our season here, and there's just 3 local shows, January, April, and October. At what point do you start to plan out like what your next season is going to look like? Like, I did this as a sort of a bucket list too, right? I was watching girls in the gym and I thought I could do that. So I did my first show, and I feel like I'm hooked now, right? Like, I love the process, I love the consistency, I love the mentality of what it takes to be successful. And so just kind of looking at, we're going to get with Erin to October, and the goal was to put on muscle and mass, right? And so I feel like that shape's coming in, and now 12 weeks out, I'm worried about leaning, but already thinking ahead to what does next season look like? So how do you determine to stay local, to do outside shows? Because that's a big deal to come out of Alaska. And then I feel like I've already had that thought, like I'm going to get blown out of the water the minute I step out of Alaska. Right?
I think a big part of it is to communicating with your coach. I mean, if you let Erin know that ultimately my goal is to do a national show, she'll help you kind of figure out timing where you can do a local show that kind of lines up with hitting a national show pretty quickly after, so that you're not in prep for, a million years. Harder with only 3 local shows where you are, but not impossible. So I think that's just where having a coach that whose job it is to kind of help you figure out that kind of strategy is just let your coach know that this is what my goals are for next year. This is what I want to do. And she'll either tell you, we can shoot for next year, or maybe the year after, or whatever, but just talk it through with your coach and have them help you figure out what shows are going to line up best with you getting to a national level show.
Okay.
I mean, do you ladies have other thoughts on that?
Kimberly, I totally second that, but I would encourage you just to be present and enjoy the shows that you're doing now.
Yeah.
That way you can soak up everything possible and learn your body, right? And it happens in this sport, especially when we're like either chasing the pro card or like what's next. And then you're not present, and you're going to get there, right? And I think just as Fit Body Fusion, all of our coaches, we're all very similar in the fact that we strategize. So we don't have an interest in just like throwing people on stage for the hell of it. Like once we know your goals, that's what that's where we strategize. We're going to make sure you get in front of if you want to do a national show, Erin's going to make sure you get in front of those judges that we know are going to be at that level, instead of just, always doing shows where there's going to be judges, but maybe their feedback isn't going to be as important to you. But I just recommend just be present, enjoy the journey. Like this is the part of it where I think as women and athletes, like we really learn. You really learn not everything, but so much before you even step on that stage.
Yeah.
So,
I have to say, it's a completely different process with Fit Body Fusion than I had with my local coach. They're very great. She still competes pro nationally, but it was just do the process and don't ask questions, where Erin is so accessible to answer even the most random questions that I have, that I'm enjoying the process without stress and anxiety, and just like watching those milestones come. So it's already a lot more rewarding the second time around. Like it's a completely different process.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, just touch base with Erin and let her know your goals.
Yeah.
And she'll get you there.
We'll get to October first and see how it
Yeah.
Good.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did someone else have a question? My little screen just went away. No one hands up.
Alicia does.
I think Irina had her hand raised at one point. Irina, did you have a
Irina?
question?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I don't know if it's important, but I've heard from some. I don't know why I'm sideways. Oh, here we
It's
go.
okay.
I've heard from some of the competitors that they don't want to win a pro card because it's more work and less fun to be a pro. What do you think about that? Like, I guess outlook.
You know, I
I
don't
haven't
know.
heard that one. Honestly,
I've
I've
never
never
heard that.
I've heard this from more than one person, and that's why I wanted to raise the question, because I'm definitely here to have fun. And to me, like, placement is almost irrelevant, because just like a lot of you ladies, I compete with myself. As long as I look better this year than I looked last year, that's all that matters to me. And it goes back to what the one judge said, what the other judge said, because you do take that feedback with a grain of salt, because there's as many, it's very subjective sport. So yeah, just if you don't have an answer to that question, that's okay, because I'm making up my mind as I go. And my goal eventually is to become IFBB pro. But I just wanted to make sure it's fun, because I'm not doing this for neither the trophy, like nobody of us does, or a title of IFBB pro. But I just don't want to miss out on fun, being so concentrated on, I guess, grueling work, which it would take to compete in the pro shows.
Well, I think it's going to be a different experience for everyone. For myself, my personal experience as a pro has been amazing, and it's not because I've done well or I haven't done well. It's just because that's what I choose to make of it. And I remember the first time I stepped on a pro stage, I was standing there about to go on, and I was like, wow, I'm here. Like, I did it finally. Like, I got here, and it's so incredible to be here. I'm so honored, and I don't care if I win or lose at pro shows. It's always, I earned it, and I'm there, and it's an experience for me. And there's amazing women, especially, and I know Anna and Natasha agree with this, but when you're getting on stage as a masters athlete, you're competing in master pro shows, the vibe is so different. They're so kind. We have so much fun because we're not fighting for Olympia points. We're just there we're having a great time, and we respect each other. We all, most of us are moms. Like, we have so much in common. And it's just a really great time. And, you're going to lose a hell of a lot more than you're going to win on the pro level, but I don't care. Like, that's not why I'm doing it. And, you have to learn to be a good loser to be a good winner. So I think you have to learn how to take that with grace. And I think most amateurs are, national level competitors are used to winning, and the young girls aren't okay with losing, in my opinion. That's what I see. But maybe, I don't know, Anna or Natasha, if you have some different thoughts on that.
I totally agree with you. I feel like the most rewarding part of competing at the pro level is the women. Like, we probably should start like filming some footage backstage, because literally, like, before you get on stage, we're all backstage chatting about like whose kids are doing what, where are we going next, should we go out to dinner together, or like, what did you eat last night? Like, I've met my tribe of people. And so every show I go in and I'm like, why do I do this? Why do I do this? I leave every single show reminding myself it's the other women, it's the connection. It's and it is very different. It's very different at the masters level versus the open level. Like, I've done a few, the few shows I've done both, and the vibe is totally different because the whys are totally different. Now, could it change possibly, like if at the master's level we have a higher level to achieve? Maybe, but I doubt it. Like, for all masters women, like, we all have stories and backgrounds and menopause and hormones, like all these other things that, that are a part of our life. And when you meet these women, it's everybody wants to connect. And that's it. So I have not had a negative experience at all.
Same.
I wasn't
very
talking
much
about
agree.
negative experience. I was talking, I guess, about that you have to put in so much more work that many, or not many, but at least a couple of bikini competitors I've spoken with said that they chose to stay amateurs because this way they're feeling better about themselves, I guess, going on stage.
I think the reason why we're competitors is because we enjoy the work.
Yeah.
We enjoy seeing our bodies progress and change. I mean, the way I looked, 14 years ago when I started competing is so different than the way I look now. And I'm always blown away by I always am like, oh, this is the best I've ever looked. I don't think it can get better than this. And then my next show is like, holy
And
crap,
then the next show
I'm
you look even
better.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
we're
know. It is
we're always
addicting.
progressing.
It is
And
very addicting.
yeah, and I think that's why, and especially as a professional, that's why we love it so much, is because we just get better. And I don't think there is any end to that. I think we can always get better.
I think that's part of the draw of this sport for all of us, is if you
Mhm.
have that competitive nature and that's part of the fun of it. It's not like, oh, if I don't win this show, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's the progression of getting better each time and being like, okay, what can I improve on next? And you're in complete control of how you show up.
Mhm.
It's that for me is the coolest part of knowing, like, okay, if I want this to look different, I have to put in the work and I'm completely in charge of how I show up. And it
Mhm.
is being against me. And even if I don't win, I'm kind of you, Irene, as long as I show up looking better than I did last time, or I'm happy with how I presented on stage. I mean, Bermuda's a great example. I won my class and I was not happy with how I looked, and I won't show up looking like that again. It didn't have to do with my placing. My placing didn't go, oh, well, I won, so it was fine. It wasn't fine. I learned so much from that, and I will do a lot of things different and better next time. So for me, it's the challenge of always showing up better for myself.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, ladies. You all are very inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I think Alicia had a question.
Yes.
I do. Can you hear me? Because I
Mhm.
always have technical difficulties. Okay. Am I too loud?
You're perfect.
Okay, cool. So I do have a question, but I did want to say, thank you so much for sharing your stories, because it is so inspiring. And I had no idea bodybuilding even existed until last year when my cousin turned me on to it. And I was 47, and I thought, hell yeah, I can do this. And I thought it was going to be easy, and it's not easy. And I set my mind on, I want to turn pro by 50 because I want to be like a unicorn when I'm 50, right? I want to be in the best shape of my life. And then my mind shifted to, I just want to build a pro physique, because I realized that the time in between me lifting my first 8-pound dumbbell to getting a pro card means I have to really like that whole rainbow journey. So now, for anyone that was asking about going pro or thinking of that as the ultimate goal, my why is just to stay healthy and strong. But I want that pro physique because I am competitive and I want to look the best, and I want to look the best for myself in the mirror. So I've been competing only for 2 years, and I just joined Fit Body Fusion in January, and Corinne is my coach. And I try not to be high maintenance.
You're not. I love you.
But I totally love her, and she totally understands everything I ever ask. And my question for the pros is this, and I've already asked her this, obviously, but at my last show, I was a complete dum-dum on show day, no brain power, dum-dum. And I ate some candy, which I don't ever eat, and I got the shakes. So I was all nervous looking. But it was also, and I'm going to admit to you what I did. For finals, I went to do 45 plus, and then I did the overall 45 plus, and then I packed my little suitcase and left. And my husband was like, girl, you have one more class to go. And I had to run back. And the expediter was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. And I just took off. That's what I mean. I would love to hear how you guys battle that show day brain, because I go into it very like, I'm going to stay by myself. I'm not going to chit chat. I'm not going to like, do a lot of energy spending, but I'm still like just such a dum-dum on show day. It's not the first time that I have felt that way or done that. So that's my question. I just thought it might be helpful for anyone else that goes completely airhead on show day like I do.
You're not alone, girl. You're not alone. We've all been there and done, like, we could all probably tell you the funniest stories of the things that we've managed on show day. I mean, I think my favorite story is I was literally going backstage for a show and realized I didn't have my number and I left it at the Airbnb. And my husband has like no tolerance for what a shit show I am ever. And the proctor's like, well, you need it. And I was literally terrified to call my husband and say, you need to go back to the Airbnb, but get my number, because he was going to freak out. And I had to call him and be like, okay, don't freak out. I don't have my number. And he's like, oh my, freaking out, because this is what I do. I'm the same way. It's like, it's just part of being low carb, and you're depleted, and then you start carbing up, but you're still excited and nervous. And I honestly, I think it's part of it. You just got to embrace the crazy and like roll with it.
Yeah.
Like maybe you just need like a buddy. Like, remember, how kids, like, they have like drinking buddies, like one person keeps you on track.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
So
what
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot my heels one time. I left them at my hotel and I was at the venue, and they were calling us on stage, and I'm like, I don't know where my heels are. So I just found like one of the NPC girls, and I'm like, can I borrow your heels? And she's like, no. I was like, please, I'm taking your heels. And I literally just took her heels. I'm like, I promise I'll bring them right back. I'm going on stage right now. And I just took her heels, and I don't even know what size they were, but I just put them on and got on stage, and I went off and gave them back to her. And I'm like, thank you. So I think we've all done something really stupid, but you just panic, and it's like, well, you think you have everything, and then you don't.
You don't.
Yeah, so fun.
And the funny thing is, so our Bermuda show, Ann and I did together, and guess whose husband I called when I forgot my number? Frankie. I called Ann's husband because I had no number. So,
oh man.
Yeah. And you get
Poor
better.
Frankie.
It gets better.
Yeah, I think it just becomes like, now I feel like I have perma brain fog all the time, and so it's just normal. This is my normal me.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I feel better because, obviously still an amateur. So the bikini room, our holding room, is a lot of first timers, a lot of body transformation, a lot of bucket lists. Like, I'm never doing this again. This is stupid. I can't believe we have to wait so long. So I've never done a show where there's like someone like me who like loves the sport and is there to compete. And it's just like, I really just don't want to fall down. Can someone like how, I want to drink water too, but I can't. So anyway, that was really helpful. That was a really weird experience for me, but also quite hilarious, because anyone that has to run in those shoes,
Mm-hmm. Not good.
Okay, thank you.
You're
welcome.
Marcia James 1219, it looks like, is your.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay. So I actually started competing back in 2008, and then joined Jamie's team in 2000. I think it's 2013, 14. Competed in 3 of shows regionally. And then I think that was in my 40s. And so I took a job and have been away from competing for about till recently. And I'm just going to little boast here a little bit, but I watched my daughter's journey going from a novice to a pro. She won the, I think it's a 2022 Universe. So Brittany Carbolito, she turned pro, I think last week. So since watching her journey, it kind of struck that fire back in me to come back and to compete and step on stage. And so now I'm here in my 50s, And I struggle. I'm struggling with losing weight. It was so much easier back in my, my early 30s, 40s. And, I'm carb cycling and I'm not seeing the scale. So I just wanted to ask here some of the athletes or pros who are in their 40s or 50s, I should say, if they've struggled with that. And then how do you, I know it's patience, but how do you struggle mentally with not seeing the scale move?
It's been in my life for a few years. So I think it's just part of accepting that it just makes it more of the challenge. I feel like instead of getting discouraged and like, oh, I'm too old to do this, like, okay, I'm not too old to do this. I just have to do it a different way. It's just coming to terms with the fact that, even the difference from prepping at 45 when I did my first show to 51 now, it's like completely different. I've gone through menopause. My hormones did all kinds of wacko things along the way. So first of all, I'm sure you talked to your coach with Jamie, making sure your blood work's good and your hormones are balanced and thyroid's doing what it should be doing and all those fun things. But if all that's the same, then it's just like having grace with yourself and knowing it might take longer. It might take longer. You may have to do some different strategies. You may have to do things a little differently than you've done in the past. And you can't compare this prep to the prep you did in your 40s, because you just need to recognize that you're at a different place. You're basically a different athlete, like starting over, and just, it may take longer to prep. It may be more challenging, but it'll be that much more rewarding when you get there. It's my first prep was a piece of cake, and now it's like, oh, it's a struggle, but it's worth it. It's worth it when you get up there and go, you know what? There is no number, there is no magic number to say you're too old to do this. Okay.
Hi, Marcia.
Hi, Marianne. I competed with Marianne
decades ago.
2015.
So. Yeah, well, I was just listening to what you're saying about weight loss, and I think it's really true. It's all hormonal and getting all your blood work done. I had cancer, and I think you know that, Marcia. So as soon as I got back, and I'm second guessing myself, will I be able to ever do this again? When I came back, cancer just screwed everything for me. So now that I really appreciate the fact that I have to do the blood work and figure out I have zero testosterone, I have zero this, I have zero that. So just discovering all those things, and at 59, 10 months to 60, we're doing good. We're gonna lose.
You look great. You look great.
I love it.
I do suffer from thyroid hyperthyroid. I did join, I think it's Joanne, so she's actually monitoring my hormones. I did find out that I do have Hashimoto's, and so I'm doing all of the things that I'm supposed to be doing. It's just, I know I just have to I keep telling myself I have to have grace and patience. It'll come off. But yeah. So and thank you for your stories. I really do appreciate it. Love your stories.
Thanks, Marcia. And basically being inspired by all you women, and just all the young girls out there. It's easy to get intimidated until you say, you got to put in the work. So stop putting yourself down.
Absolutely. That's and that's a big part of it, is just right? The mental game, and not beating yourself up, and being positive, and being your own cheerleader,
And I've been doing this since 2011, and I was just talking to my husband. I had to kind of rest when I had that cancer and came back. Oh my God. So I've been doing this for so long. Am I really, is this really for me? And then I realized how much you really love the sport. And I've always been an athlete all my life. And I said, I'm two spots away from the pro card. Oh no, to this show, I'm 4 spots away. So you're just, as you guys said, just take it with grace and be good to yourself.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think a big part too is not losing sight of the bigger picture. I think when you get into this industry, we all do it, right? You all get consumed with it, and it's all you look at on the Instagram, and you follow all the shows, and you kind of you get a distorted perception of the fact that, I mean, look at all of us. We're in our, we're all master's level athletes. The majority of the population do not look like us. So give yourself some grace that we're here and we're doing this and we're putting in the work, and you just that part. I mean, we get so hung up on, I want to win, or I want to do this, I want to do the best in my class. And it's like, you're here and you're doing this and you're taking care of yourself and you're putting yourself out there in a sport like this. That's a win, period. It's a win just being out there.
I love that you shared that, because when you're backstage, when you're, just prepping and you're amongst your co-competitors, it's a different world.
Yes.
And then when I go back to work, I'm a flight attendant and you're with other crew and they praise you for working so hard and looking so good. And you tell yourself, I don't look good enough.
Right.
And then you're telling yourself, no, that's a different world that you're comparing yourself to. This is, your everyday. So I try to make sure that, I take their compliments and whatever I could advise them and give them, and realize that this is the world I'm in every day.
Yeah.
So it's not that world all the time. Yeah, you're right about that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Anyone else have any other questions, comments, something they want to add? Bentley. You're on mute, Bentley, but you're up.
Okay, this is Angie. It's under my son's name because he likes to have his own little YouTube channel for gaming. So Bentley is actually my son. I don't have a question, but kind of. I don't know if any of you have this experience or not. So I've competed since 2014. I'm not pro. That is my strong desire, has been the desire since the very beginning. It's always been my dream. And kind of embarrassing to admit this, but my husband never wanted to compete, ever. When I first started doing this, he was like, it's not for me. And then I did super well in my first show, and he was like, oh, well, maybe I'll do it. So huge confession time, being very vulnerable with a lot of people listening to me. He turned pro first. And I really have struggled with that, like a huge level of resentment, because he hates the process. He hates prep. He hates the journey. He complains about cardio. Like, I love the process. I love the journey. I love being challenged. I don't mind my legs throbbing or being sore. And, I've been upwards of 2 hours of cardio and super low on calories, like most of us have experienced at some point in a prep journey. And so I'm just curious. This is really the first year he kind of stepped back and finally said, this is my year. And he doesn't plan on competing again until I turn pro. Like, he just wants me to focus on me. He's helping and being supportive. And I think it's changed the mental game for me this year to not worry about, his posing or his diet, his stuff. I mean, he's there and he's being supportive on the journey and he's eating clean and he's doing his cardio. But that's just being super vulnerable. And I'm just curious if any of the pros or anybody who wants to chime in on the call, if you've experienced anything similar to that, and how you overcame that mental kind of funk.
Not with a partner. But I think it's probably the same, and maybe the other two coaches can reference it as, having never a partner, but a close friend who you're kind of on the same path, and then your friend goes pro really, really fast, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I don't have what it takes, or you do get in that comparison game, even though it's the worst thing you can do is compare yourself. But when you're like, okay, well, what am I lacking that they have? They went pro and I didn't, or, I'm still struggling, or it came so easy for them, or they went pro really fast. And I mean, my only advice for that is just that, staying out of your head and staying in, make that it's about you. It's about you and your journey. And either one of you have an antidote for that?
I mean, I can't relate to that specific situation, but I think it's almost like anything else when, you want something so badly and someone else gets it and they complain, like even if it's a promotion at work or something else and they're complaining about the amount of work they have to put into it, and you're like, but I want that. I think that's so frustrating and so hard. But like Anne said, and I tell a lot of my clients this too, is, stay off social media or stay, anything that's taking a bad space in your mind, you just have to take that off of your plate or out of your mind, because you have to focus on yourself and your goals and your priorities, even if it's like making a dream board or something that helps you stay focused on you and your goals. And it's great that he's being supportive too, because I feel like a lot of women that do compete don't have that support system, or even anyone that understands what it's like to go through a show or to prep. So the fact that he does is probably kind of a blessing in disguise. So it is nice that you have that support too, but maybe focus on the fact that you have the support, and then just, how can you get there?
Thank you very much. I know that this year I kind of have set a different approach. Ashlyn is my coach and I absolutely love her. And technically, I guess I'm not in competition prep. I guess I'm still lifestyle, even though I know what the long-term focus is. But I've taken the date off the table altogether. So I'm just taking a little bit different approach. I don't want to set a show date and always be stressed out or feel pressured against the clock, where I'm looking in the mirror going, oh, I've got 5 more weeks, I'm not lean enough. I just took it all off the table. So now it's me versus me, and I'm looking in the mirror and I'm loving the process, and I love seeing the changes. And I am just excited to look in the mirror one day and go, oh my gosh, it's time to pick a date, because I'm, closer than I think. And being able to do that has been a game changer. So definitely been focusing on his support this time, but I do appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, good. That's awesome.
Sarah.
Hi, ladies. I'm really excited to be here. This is my first Fit Body Fusion call. I've been on the team since January 2021. I took the leap and hired Jordan. So I've been working with Jordan for 1.5 years, and I'm stepping on stage for the first time in 5 weeks at Tahoe. And I haven't stepped on stage since 2019. I worked with a regional coach, a male, who I feel like didn't do me any favors. I've really had to learn to trust the process and know that working with pros is way different and working with a female is way different. So first of all, thank you to all the female coaches out there who understand the hormones, especially at over 40. It's like, oh my God, I'm over 40. So I will be 44 when I step on stage for the 5th time. Anyway, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I just feel like it's been so great hearing all of your stories, because I feel like I have a little bit of imposter syndrome, where like I own a gym, I'm a personal trainer, and I'm grinding away, but like haven't like hit the pro level, and I'm always afraid to like put my hopes out there. People always say like you gotta know what your road to pro is, and I just feel like I can do it, but there's something that holds me back from setting that goal of going to pro. So how do you like get past the imposter syndrome, especially being over 40?
Good question.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I honestly, thank you for sharing that. And you're being extremely vulnerable. And I think you are hitting the nail on the head. I think the first thing is just acknowledging how you're feeling. Like if you do feel like you have imposter syndrome, that's the first thing. And you've just said it out loud to a whole bunch of us. So, when we kind of start talking about shame, like you're not holding it in anymore. But this sport requires you to dig so deep. And a lot of times we may not either want to or be ready to confront some of those things that we need to, right? So I honestly feel like you're on the right path. You're not an imposter, definitely not. And sometimes I think when we get in our own head, kind of the same thing Coach Ann was saying, it's very self-defeating. So, you just sit with yourself, and whether it's meditating or journaling, and start telling yourself and believing in yourself how amazing you are. Like every woman I work with, I'm always telling them to shine bright, because everybody's light is bright, but everybody's light is very different. So you know, Sarah, you get on stage and you and I may look totally different, but it doesn't matter. It totally doesn't matter, right? Like what matters is that you believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, then it's not going to make it. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how good or how bad you look. So, yeah.
Thank you, Natasha. And Jordan's been really good at like, stop saying you're over 40 and just focus on what you've done so far. And again, just trusting the process and trusting my body to show up on show day. And I think she said that you'd be there, Coach Ann. Is that right, Tahoe?
Well, I will. I just saw your message and I responded. So I will take good care of you. I promise.
Thank you. I just think it's so important to have a team there. And like I've worked with other competitors that I was like on the same team, but not really. And I just feel like, you know, you guys are talking about the fog brain, like forgetting everything. It's like I am so OCD about that kind of stuff. I'll look at my friends and be like, hey, do I have everything? Because I'm the major OCD checklist girl.
Yeah, you'll have a good experience. I think if anything, for everyone on this call, I think it's making that switch to Fit Body for me was so huge in that regard of just experiencing my first show where I truly had like a family backstage and there's all these other competitors and everyone's taking care of each other and coaches that weren't even my coach are asking, do you need anything? Are you okay? And I just, it made the experience like 1,000 times more rewarding and more fun. And same thing, I've made some of my closest friends and some great relationships through this experience of just meeting people backstage. And it kind of takes away the sting of whatever your placing is, because you're just having so much dang fun with the people you've met backstage. And to me, that's been the biggest win for me, is just the relationships I've made coming out of this. So yeah, so I've got some competitors doing Tahoe show. You guys will all be backstage together and get to know each other and have fun, compare stories.
Yeah, we're all going to be there.
Yeah.
All three of us coaches. And I've got a lot of athletes doing the show too. It's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a great team show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
You've got this, Sarah. Somebody asked, when is the 2023 schedule going to be published? Typically like late December after Olympia, like the promoters will start rolling stuff out. We'll start seeing it. As a team, we usually have everything kind of put together by January, February, but we usually have everything together. So your coach will let you know as soon as that's done.
Yes.
You're welcome. All right. We don't have any other questions?
I don't think so. No.
All right, guys.
Can I just congratulate all your husbands for being so good? Because I have my own supporter right here.
Yay, hi, husband.
Oh, I totally know that story. It's like, can you do this for me? Yeah.
Everybody needs a good show husband.
Yes. That's so awesome.
Most definitely.
Show husbands are the best.
Right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for showing up and listening to us and participating in the call. We appreciate it.
Yep. And we'll have the recorded version available probably in the next week or so. And then our next platinum call will be August 7th. And we actually have a guest speaker. I'll let Coach Corinne, give you a little just quick background on Amy.
Oh, I wasn't prepared for this.
I wasn't either.
Okay. Natasha. So Amy is one of my clients. She is we're talking about mindset, correct? Yeah, she's amazing. She's she's been a therapist. She does, I believe, marriage and
I think she's a marriage therapist.
Yeah, marriage counseling. So she's going to come and talk to us about mindset and give us some really great things we can do to make sure our mind is great. I don't know. I should have been more prepared. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's a mindset one. The last one we had was really good too. It was Anne's husband, but we're doing another one because that one was so good. We wanted to have another talk just about mindset, especially when we're going into all the competition seasons and we all get so much in our heads. So we asked Amy to come and do one on that as well. So this can be a good one.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not prepared. I didn't have.
I wasn't prepared either, but I was like, oh, we totally need to let them know. So yes, So in a month, we will see you guys again if you can join us. And as always, if you guys have other topics or ideas that you want to hear, you can message any of us, and you know, we'll get it on our schedule. So,
yeah, please. If you have topics in your head, please, please, please. We would
Yeah.
love to give you guys the content you want. So,
Yep.
yay.
All right,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Have a great
So good
everyone.
seeing everyone.
Great night.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Marsha.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, snack hacks. That's a good one.
What was it? Oh,
Snack
hacks.
hacks.
That is a good one.
Oh, that is a good one.
I'll add that to our list.
Thank
I
you,
like that.
ladies. This was a great call.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.